Okay, welcome back to the next episode on embodied presence, becoming the regulating force in the room. Well, these are all very big words.
Yes.
What do they
Big words
actually
indeed.
really mean, right? Embodied presence, when I think about it, is a lot around like your presence as a coach, how you embody it.
Correct.
How about regulating force? What comes to mind?
I think regulating force, just the word regulating alone means that there is a certain level of agency and activeness that the coach needs to partake in as one of the conversational partners in the coaching session, which means that you have to be kind of like on the lookout for all the twists and turns and ups and downs that might occur during a coaching conversation, and then have enough awareness and also the skill set to address or adjust the level of intensity or the nature of the twisting and turning such that you can still support your client to reach the session objective.
You are basically the flow.
Yeah, you are basically the flow. You have to take ownership of the I guess the process or the progress of the coaching session as the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, as a coach listening in, you must be wondering where this is going.
Yes.
And what we're trying to do here, right? So we are definitely talking about this whole idea of coaching presence and how that presence allows you to co-regulate and also co-regulate with the client and also like self-regulate to a degree where the session flows. Right? So how do you actually get there? It's a lot around developing stillness, groundedness, and attunement so that your clients can feel deeply seen and safe. So this is actually a hallmark of MCC level mastery.
Yeah.
And we are bringing this topic in at this point in time because when you can work on and begin to embody that, then that is going to make wonders to PCC level coaching as an example.
Correct.
Right. So the primary competencies that we are touching on here obviously will be the one on maintaining presence. Right, that's your competency 5, and also competency 4, trust and safety. When you can have that coaching presence, when you can self-regulate and also co-regulate, then imagine how the client would feel comfortable showing up and being with whatever that they want to share, right, and not feel like it's going to be marginalized or anything.
Correct. Yeah. I think when it comes to these two competencies, like one of the tricky things I recall, training up as a coach under the ICF framework is that sometimes the words seem too simple, right? Like, trust and safety, maintain presence, simple enough. But actually,
it takes so much to
actually hold these things.
Yes.
To actually be able to, quote unquote, do these things.
Yes. I mean, I think just giving one example, for instance, you might think that going through a chemistry session, having good vibes and like both people feeling safe with each other and your potential client actually being able to share so comfortably and freely, you might think that, this is a done deal when they choose you as a coach.
Yes.
But no, it doesn't work that way. Right? Anything could happen in the sessions that occur after that could throw off this trust that you thought was built.
Yes.
Right? Just one small thing can kill off the entire trust that was built over time.
Yeah.
That's how fragile, how delicate it is.
Correct.
Right, and all the more it becomes important for us to know how to manage it in a way that supports the relationship forward and also gives the clients what they need coming into a session.
Correct. I would say, I think maybe at the beginning I would describe it as like constant vigilance, something to always be looking out for and to be aware of. And why I say at the beginning it can seem like that because for some individuals, and by some I just speak for myself first, if you relate to me, you relate to me, the concept of constant vigilance can sound very tiring, right? But what I've come to realize over time is that as you begin to understand what it means to be a regulating force, to be involved and present in a conversation, it's not really a chore, but it's more of like a fluid stance that you take to a point where you are literally ready for any kind of situation, right? So it's both a combination of one, yes, your experience, the amount of experience you have coaching people, but two, also your willingness and your ability to kind of flow with whatever might come up during the session. And I think for this particular episode, that's what we're trying to capture the essence of, to transmit the wisdom to you. So if you begin to hear different phrases or examples that Pei Ying are sharing, and it resonates, please, take that resonance to heart and know that it could mean that maybe innately you have some, I guess, leaning or talent already, and that is like almost like an advantage for you.
Yeah, correct. So I guess as we go through the topic itself, it will probably give you a little bit more clarity about what this is and how it's meant to work, and how can you then bring that into your practice to make yourself a more effective coach.
Correct.
Right. So the first thing that it comes to being a regulating force, you can't regulate anything until you begin to regulate yourself.
Yes. 100%.
Right. But then what really is self-regulation?
So I would think when you think of the word regulation, it might sound a little bit like very systematic and maybe even flat or repetitive. But that's not how I begin to see regulation. I actually see regulation in the context of coaching, especially self, actually is a huge flux. And if your willingness to kind of dance and flow with this flux. So what I mean by this is, I'll give you an example. At the beginning of the session, I'm in a neutral state, pretty calm, ready to receive my client. My client comes in, and the client goes, "Oh my God, coach, I have so many things to tell you. So many exciting things happen. I don't know where to start." Then, for me as the coach receiving that, suddenly my energy goes up. I'm a little bit thrown because I'm like, oh, my client is highly energetic, but I was in a calm state, ready to do normal coaching, but it's okay. I'm receiving this high energetic state. I'm going to tune myself a little bit higher to receive it in an appropriate way and not appear like a dead, uninterested person. Okay, so just these two examples, from a calm state to a slightly retuning of myself to receive the sharing from the client in an appropriate way. This is what I mean by regulation. Do you pay attention to what's happening at any moment during the coaching session, and you make the micro adjustments to receive the information appropriately? Right, so that's a short example of just maybe like the first 5 seconds from your start state to receiving an excited client. So you extend this to 1 whole hour.
Yep.
All the things that can happen, do you have the ability to constantly tune and adjust as all the twists and turns and ups and downs happen? That is self-regulation.
Yeah. It's almost like how you're tracking with the client.
Correct. You have to be pacing, you have to be paying attention.
Yep. So it's very different from being calm.
No, it's not about being calm at all, right? It's about, are you in the flow? Are you tuning into what's happening? Yeah.
So how does a coach begin to self-regulate?
I think the first thing is being able to, for example, being able to make those statements to yourself. Maybe not like out loud, but in your mind. Like, oh, check, I'm calm right now. Check, oh, I'm a bit excited right now. Yeah. Check, I'm feeling a little bit judgmental right now. So being able to, at any single point in time, actually
tune into yourself and understand what's happening in your inner landscape.
Correct.
Right. So then there's also this thing like what is a test of that would also be how you are responding in line with how the client is responding in the session.
Yes.
So for instance, if your client is becoming emotional, then you want to tune into yourself and understand what you are picking up, what you are feeling, and which aspects of what's coming up for you belongs to you versus what belongs in the field or may belong to the client.
Correct. Yeah.
So that is one way of beginning to self-regulate.
Yes. Yeah.
But the thing is, when a coach actually freezes, shut down, or even avoid what's happening in the space, what could be driving that?
I mean, that could, like, so many reasons, right? It could be maybe some personal reaction to whatever is the information coming across from the client. So for instance, I've met coaches who are so adamant and they say things like, oh, I don't do any relationship coaching. So I ask them, what is the impact of that when you have that as a statement? They say, oh, and then they will very confidently say, if let's say the coaching session steers into somewhere personal and maybe emotional and talking about relationships, I will actually pause the client and say, sorry, that's out of my scope.
Wow.
I heard coaches say that before, right? And to me, that's pretty shocking because, when we coach people, we are trained to
Coach the whole person.
The whole person, right? It is not the client's fault to suddenly have a moment where they relate to a relationship and they want to express that. And it's certainly, I think, quite inappropriate actually for a coach to outright, deny the client that kind of space. Yeah.
Correct.
So
it's the same as me hearing from a coach tell the client that, you want to work on your marriage issues, I think you should find a marriage counselor.
instead, right?
Right, but then can the coach not do that? The answer is yes, but it's a matter of whether the coach feels comfortable.
Correct.
Like a lot of people go into corporate coaching thinking that, hey, I don't have to deal with all their emotions because it's going to be a functional
I'll just
thing.
do leadership, do executive
Correct.
coaching.
But what makes you think that these executives are not humans?
Yeah.
Do they not have emotions and...
Yeah, they too have family, they too have spouses and children, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I've ever had a corporate person engage me for coaching and we started off working on, his career.
Yeah.
Like having failed the promotion and wanting to really be considered and get it again. But then very soon the coaching shifts into my marriage.
Oh.
The way I'm going, it might not work out. Or even parenting. Why are my kids becoming like me? I can't handle them. Different things. Or even the whole idea of the midlife crisis, hitting 40 and what does it mean? Do I still want to live that same level of lifestyle? So to be honest, whatever that type of coaching you choose to position yourself with, you can't run away from the fact that these are whole people that you're working with.
Yeah.
And because of that, you need to be able to embody that whole person concept and focus on whatever they come up with.
Correct.
Whatever they're cognitively saying, whatever that they're feeling emotionally, whatever their body's experiencing.
Yeah.
Right, just so that you really move them forward meaningfully. So when if you're a coach that you are sensing into something that you're uncomfortable with,
yes,
and that's why you freeze or you shut down or you start to avoid, then consider how open are you to want to look into that and work on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, because then it takes you tuning in to understand what's happening in your inner landscape, so that you then can begin to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna frame what you just said in a positive way. I think it's actually a pretty amazing and something to be grateful for that you can even notice that you are uncomfortable or that you're having a reaction to something that the client is saying.
Yep.
Because I think in a lot of, I guess most of the world out there, if you are somebody who is not actively taking an interest in communication or personal development and self-awareness, some people might not even know that they are uncomfortable in a situation.
Yep.
And they just kind of remain numb throughout, for instance. So, if you are a coach in training and this is something that you are interested in, then actually it's a great sign that discomfort is coming up. Because it means that it's a specific area you can identify and you can improve and work on.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is really all about expanding your range.
That's right.
To the degree where you can handle any case.
Right.
Because if you're going to specialize, okay, fine, but you can't run away from the whole person.
Yeah. Correct.
That's the key thing, right?
Yes.
So, what else? When it comes to self-regulation, do you see being still as a leverage? Stillness.
I think stillness, not so much as a leverage, but maybe it's like a baseline.
Okay.
So when you have a concept of stillness for yourself and you are able to kind of embody it and hold that in session, then that's kind of your ground zero, right? So if you imagine stillness literally as a still surface of water, then that gives you a good starting point where wherever there is something that hits the surface and causes a ripple, now you can immediately identify it. If, let's say, you are already a bit dysregulated and you don't have a calm surface of water and it's already the moving sea, for instance, then how are you ever going to be able to identify when a piece of information from the client is causing a ripple, right? So you need, I would say that you need that as kind of a baseline at the beginning when you're learning the whole idea of self-regulation, where you're trying to understand more about yourself. Your ability to hold one of the states called stillness first, right? Earlier you talked about...
It's a prerequisite.
It's a prerequisite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like a level 0 or level 1. Then after that, when we talk about expanding your range, is that then how then do you add on more states that give you more dynamism, this word, I'll never get it. Make you more dynamic, right? And have more flexibility to deal with different type of like client personalities or client reactions.
Agree. So, what does it really mean to be still? When you're still, it actually reveals what the noise is hiding. Right? It facilitates the client's journey inwards.
Yes.
And that's why being able to be still for them to journey inwards is important.
Yeah.
Right? So, how long can you stay silent or still? And how do coaches develop this aspect?
I don't know about whether or not like how long is one. I guess that's a reflective question for the listener. But when we talk about how do coaches develop this, right? I think it is both easy and difficult. Like when I say easy, you literally just shut your mouth and you don't say anything.
But it's so challenging for some people.
So that's the difficult part, right? To tune into how difficult or easy it is to be still and not say anything. I think that is like one of the basic level trainings for a coach.
It's like the hallmark of coaching.
Correct, right? To speak less than. Yeah, to speak less than the client.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean there is generally an 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
The client speaks 80% of the time, you speak 20% of the time.
Correct.
And it's the stillness, the space that you provide and hold for them that allows them to go inwards.
Correct.
So stillness becomes a prerequisite. But at the same time, like, how does one develop that? I think it starts from awareness first, in terms of looking into yourself
Yeah.
and asking yourself, if let's say you struggle to be still, like what's really in your way of being still?
Yeah. What are the parts inside you that make noise when you attempt stillness?
Yeah. What is it you can't stand about the stillness?
Correct.
Or what's being unsaid in the stillness that makes you super uncomfortable?
Yeah. So you want to identify the specific statements. You want to identify the specific feelings. Try not to be vague about this, because the more specific you are, it actually helps you to, I guess, progress through this stage of the quote-unquote training.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. I think there are some people who find it hard to be still because there's a part of them that just want to speak up. That they just want to fix something, they just want to rescue something.
Yeah.
They don't want to sit still and do nothing.
Correct.
Maybe that goes back to how I'm not of service, not of use,
Yes.
as an example.
Correct.
And so then you want to ask yourself, like, how does this benefit the client? If you want to step in to rescue or to, fix the issue.
Yeah.
Because in the first place, we know that in coaching, we are not here to fix the client. They are here to find their own answers and solutions to move forward. And our role really is to facilitate that shift
Yes.
that allows them to find those answers themselves.
Yeah. So
Right.
apart from the fixing, then there's also like the type of I can't stand stillness because of like your own personal misgiving. Like not being able to speak is bad, or to not speak is to not add any value, or I'm not sure how do people feel about the thing where I need to fill the space and they cannot stand silence, right? Like, so what is this need about? Like, what's wrong with just being quiet? Yeah.
Like, I need to take up space.
Yeah.
Then it's very challenging for you to be a coach.
Yeah, so those are some of the simple, like, not simple, but those are the things that you need to begin to examine. If, let's say, even being still is a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, when stillness is present, what is the potential in terms of what can emerge?
Oh, I think the potential is limitless, right? So many times I've heard examples, and I've experienced it myself, where I was going to say something, I catch myself, I just keep quiet, I just hold for that 1-2 seconds more, and the information that came out from the client, because I managed to hold myself, was totally not what I thought was going to be said.
Oh,
yeah. So
what was it?
So for example, like I was going to think that, let's say it's just they were influenced by some kind of beauty standards, right? And then they were going to share how they recognize that. And I wanted to ask, so what were some of the things that created these beauty standards? Thinking that it's like media or something. But then because I kept quiet, the thing that actually influenced the beauty standard didn't start with media. It was actually a statement that my client's mother said to her.
Oh.
So that goes even deeper.
Such a different direction.
It's a very different direction, because suddenly now there's a parent element. It's not a media or culture that I consume element, right? So if I had came in with that kind of thinking, or like or assumption that I'm going to explore, what kind of content or TV shows you have consumed, we might have taken longer to get to the mother aspect, because this client was already really ready to go deep. But here I was still maybe holding some kind of surface level thing, right? But the difference that happened was that 1-2 seconds. Yeah. So staying
cool.
silent, you really won't know where it will go, and there's value to keep silent.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of value in silence. There's so much that's unsaid in the silence.
Correct.
But yeah, at the same time, the silence allows a lot of stuff to surface out. More than if there wasn't that stillness.
And sometimes I think if you are adventurous, you can even have a conversation with the client about the silence. How does this silence make you feel? What is surfacing as we sit here, as you attempt to reflect on the question?
Or even what's the silence saying that makes you feel so uncomfortable?
Correct. Yeah.
And what is this urge you have when you feel like there's silence?
Correct.
Right. So what do you see as some personal narratives to overcome when it comes to developing stillness?
I think the most obvious one is this need to contribute or communicate something
in order to be useful.
Yeah, there is definitely this useful element, this I need to add value kind of mindset, and that's something to watch out for, because if a coach doesn't take care of that, it can easily jump into like some kind of maybe trying to overly solution, or worse still, you begin to lead the client in a certain way with your questions. Yeah, so those are all aspects that are not great, right? When it comes to working through the silence.
Right.
Yeah. The other part could also be the coach's personal confidence. Actually, as I think through it, it's same facet of giving value. Like sometimes people think that they need to speak to give value. Sometimes people don't see that keeping quiet is also a way of giving value. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes giving space is a gift.
Correct.
On its own. So, stillness, the whole idea of stillness means you are not trying to steer the thing.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
So what's likely to come up when a coach has to trust the moment without steering it?
I think here then we actually begin to go into the second part of this topic that we want to talk about, which is where where the coach takes on a more active role, because you have to have a moment where you are still, so that you can begin to get a sense of how things are flowing or not in a coaching session. And with that information, you then will hit a point in the conversation where, as a coach, you suddenly need to make a decision where that. So we know that coaches only talk 80-20 as a split, right?
Right.
You have to make your 20% count. So you when you open your mouth, ideally you do not want to be saying something like inane or casual, but it should really impact and move the conversation somewhere.
Yep.
So after you have your stillness part, now comes the next part where you suddenly make a choice as a coach, which is you want to push the conversation in a certain direction that is in alignment with the client's objective. Right. So if let's say the client's objective is they want to build more awareness around their relationship with their spouse, but they have been silent for the most part, you have to ask a question around the silence, but still connect it to that original topic, right? So, like, all the silence that has been happening for so long, for the past few minutes, what has that got to do, or what have you been thinking about? Maybe just as that simple thing, right? So you have to activate them, and you can't really let them sit in a space of silence for the whole 1 hour, right? So there is this recognition as a coach where you have to dance between when do you just stay silent and still, when do you now have to choose a form of input to begin to get some kind of feedback from the client? Because without the client's feedback, you might literally sit in silence for an hour if you're not careful.
Right.
Yeah. So then, so when you are in the position where you have to begin to give input, that's when the next part begins to come out already.
Right.
Where are you able to sense what is the appropriate input to give and the state or the manner in which it should be given? Yeah.
Right. So then, we've been talking about the coach, self-regulation and being still so far.
Correct.
So let's take it towards the client side, right? When it comes to managing the client's dysregulation, the coach's job is not to calm them down, but rather is to be calm yourself to go and regulate the energy and space of both the coach and the coachee.
Yes.
Right. So how does, as an MCC, how do you manage your client's dysregulation?
I think how I manage my clients' dysregulation depends on the client's primary mode of expression and engaging with the world. So for example, I've met clients who are in a very emotional state, right? Because they have hit a point in a conversation where they're there, but their main mode of engaging the world is actually pretty cognitive and cerebral in nature.
Right.
So to bridge the understanding or to help them out, I have to engage them in a way where if you were to try to use, for example, this is not what I exactly said, but the analogy is, if you try to use your brain to create analogy or a way that your emotions can be understood, what kind of image does that create? Right. So I invite them to bring their brain in to try to look at their feelings and map out something.
Right.
And that helps to regulate them. So if you flip it on the opposite side, someone who is highly cerebral, maybe everything is very logical and they're trying to think through the processes, but then they can't express themselves or they're not willing to go into the emotion. Sometimes I might have to go in and say something like, okay, if we were to pause the thinking, right? And you just, you have seen me do this quite a few times. Doesn't work all the time. Take the hand, take the person's physical hand and place it on their heart, and ask them to calm down, and ask them to just kind of then express what is coming up as they do this action. It has worked to some varying degrees of success depending on the individual.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how, when you begin to see the client express themselves in a certain way, and if let's say they are struggling or they get stuck, then as a coach, sometimes you have to be experimental or adventurous in the way that you want to try to help them to discover different forms of expressing themselves.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is also to let them know that wherever they're at, this is a safe space. And then, they have the space to work through this dysregulation such that we can kind of co-regulate better together. And I think in terms of then managing it is to then get the client to see past that and kind of get back on track.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to say it explicitly? This is a safe space. Have you had to do that before?
So far what I've had to do is to let the person know that, for instance, it could be about doing a reality check. To say that, we're not against each other.
Okay.
Right. Perhaps that person has this thinking of I've been doing my work all the time. How come I'm not seeing progress?
Yeah.
So then there is this throwing the responsibility back to the coach. Right. But the thing is, was that even real?
Yeah.
When this person spent the last few weeks talking about how much they've grown and so much good feedback, and then suddenly, how come in the middle of this thing there is a flip to something else? And upon looking deeper, it is the inability to stand with how things are constantly work in progress. Instead of it's really a done deal. So the impatience, the irritation is coming up and becomes directed at the coach.
I see.
Even though it is not exactly a present time thing, I think it's something that has happened many times before.
Yeah.
And it's about being able to get the client to see this dysregulation and what's causing it.
Okay. That's a great example. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I've also had examples where sometimes I do have to remind them. Like I have to use those words. I say like, this is a safe space, right? So come from a very calming, gentle space, and then just say that to them. And anything that you express, is valid, and we are here to witness it and to work through it together.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like coming from a space of assurance, of support, and being very explicit. Like, so you don't leave anything to chance or to assumption.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's also important. If let's say you recognize that your client can be someone who maybe jumps to conclusions, or maybe has assumptions coming into the session that you haven't really discovered before, or you didn't notice during the chemistry session. Yeah, but just a small throwback outside of the competencies that we are covering here is that there's always this importance to maintain the agreement, and to remind each other what we're here for. Yeah, so that's also one way of creating and maintaining the kind of safety and remembering, helping the client to remember that.
Yeah. So how does a coach develop? Or okay, maybe this is an interesting question. When matters actually escalate into a hotspot,
yes,
how can the coach manage or de-escalate the situation?
I mean, I have my favorite methods. Yeah, and I'm sure you have yours as well. For me, I like to hold the client's hand, not physically, but I mean like metaphorically, and jump in together. So I'll say something like, okay, it sounds like there is a building tension in our conversation, and I hear your volume rising. I also feel my energy rising, and I just want to bring that to both of our attention, right? So this, in my world, I call it jump straight in and start talking about what's happening. And so far, in my experience, when we do that, it's very powerful because the client, the reaction I see from clients is that, like, we are stating the obvious, but we are stating the obvious to that level, and he's doing it in such a calm and interesting way. Okay, I'll play this game with you, right? So it's like, yes, I agree that the tension is high, the energy is high, and then that's when I start to frame some coaching statements or questions inside. Right. So as we recognize this state of tension that we're in, what is going through your mind and feelings you are experiencing, then invite the client to speak, and then we speak openly about the hotspot. And then that naturally has a de-escalating effect, right? Because then you move into the next part where you ask them, so now that we have kind of more or less expressed our opinions about the hotspot we are in, what would be the best way to go forward, or what still needs to be expressed, for instance? So it's like, I mean, it takes a bit of experience, takes a bit of skill, but it can be very empowering to the client and also to the coach to both know that actually it's okay to talk about the difficult moments or the tension moments in the coaching conversation. And those can happen. I mean, it's definitely a very good skill to have. Right, especially when there's relational conflict. Yes. Because those are very good representations of hotspots. But you want to ask yourself then at the same time, why does a hotspot even appear in the first place? Yes, that's a great question. What do you think? For me, I think there are many, many reasons, but more often than not, is because there could be a moment of maybe low awareness where a coach might have mentioned something and that creates a trigger for a client. Or it could be nothing to do with the coach, it just is the client's own story, is the client's own experience, and they basically, in a sense, as they're sharing, they trigger themselves, and it just surfaces, right? So earlier in this episode, we talked about how you have to be ready for any kind of situation as a coach, starting with yourself as a platform of stillness as level 1, or like base level foundation, but then you don't know what's going to happen. So we are moving into that part now, right? Like, whatever is happening, do you then have the ability to navigate that as a coach in a appropriate way that still follows the client? I guess like hotspots are traditionally more challenging to handle because it almost has a little bit of that explosive effect. At some level, if it's not dealt with well. But I was going to say, it can almost feel like the relationship might break if it's not done well, and then that can sometimes create fear, hesitation from both parties, both the coach and the client.
Yeah. But I would say that hotspot occurs because there is a insistence on either side that the other can't accept.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And when you push that point, then that's where it becomes like a conflict in short that you need to overcome.
Correct.
So it's looking into what really is the trigger here and how do you then bring to reality, like, you know, whether there's a different way of working through it.
That's right. So what are some ways that you have detected hotspots in the past?
Sometimes it's just the undercurrents of when the client's not happy about something, but then they're not saying it.
Is it like a face thing or like a tone of voice thing or?
Definitely both.
Okay.
Both. I mean, maybe either this wanting to cut off or like wanting to challenge. I think these are the energies that come out when it comes to a hotspot.
Okay.
And then it's down to your relational skills.
Yes.
At some level to de-escalate the thing. And to be able to detach and let go. Because why do conflicts happen? Why do hotspots occur? Is because we are holding so tightly to something that we believe in that the other person doesn't agree with. And it's that's why we are locked into a position. So to unlock yourself also means that you have to let go or not be attached to whatever that's causing the conflict.
Correct. Yeah.
So easy to say lah, but most people find it very hard to execute.
Yeah. Do you have a simple example of how a person, whether is it maybe as a coach or maybe a witness from a client side, go from a locked position to they have released it?
Well, the most recent example I can think of is someone who tends to stop things.
Okay.
Right? So the insistence of that they can't move becomes a very big reason or attachment that they hold. And it appears in almost everything in their lives.
Okay.
The way they work, the way they are with friends or teams of people, that at some point, like, it doesn't help the group to progress. And kind of de-escalating it when we understand what's causing that locked position or that the need to slow things down. Right? And then that allows the person to be open to be caught on when such matters actually happen.
I see.
So to me, that is one example of what that looks like.
So it was like a pointing out that this is the behavior that is persisting?
Yes, correct.
I
mean, sometimes coaching is not about being nice.
Yeah.
I think a lot of coaches start off their journey wanting to be nice coaches so that they can be accepted by their clients, but you want to see, is that a people-pleasing thing? Is that an acceptance issue?
Yes.
Because end of the day, we are here to bring the client to the outcome that they want.
Correct.
And the approach is up to us to take it and for the clients to be able to accept it.
Yeah.
There are some clients that actually prefer to be challenged.
That's right.
Versus being encouraged.
Correct.
So with that as a preference, to be honest, there's no need to be nice all the time. Right. So that is one way of like handling the situation.
I see. Yeah.
To challenge and push through things so that the person can see the point and let go of their own attachment as well.
Yeah. I think I also had the fun experience where sometimes I take the choose your own adventure approach with a client. Say, why do you choose? Do you want to be challenged now or you want to be supported? Like you pick your poison or you pick your path, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes like the issue actually is not about the relational handling, but it's, let's say, it was around the lack of autonomy and the lack of ownership, right? And the insistence of something like, but you're my coach, right? You should tell me. Or,
wow.
You know, that kind of thing. And then when...
that is like, where did your agency go?
Exactly, right? So it's easy to say as like a joke, but then
it's not
when
funny.
it hits that... not that it's not funny, but when it hits that point, right? I think there's something to question, like, how much of it of a joke do you actually mean it to be? Or are you trying to find a way to let go of your ownership and agency? Yeah. Because sometimes I have like coach clients like that, and they try to be funny.
Yeah.
And then, you tell me, then I'm like, why should I do that?
Yeah, so I think sometimes when, as coaches, as we go through an engagement with a client over a few sessions, right, the line tends to blur at some point.
Yes.
And it's important to reinforce that boundary, that line, because it's very easy to overstep and things can fall out of place because of that closeness that you develop. So it's almost like on one hand, we're trying to build a relationship with the client, but at the same time, you somehow got to maintain that professionalism without leaning into something that's too personal that backfires on you at some point.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's around I guess, some of the stances or and scenarios that one would face when working with a client.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the next thing that we can maybe discuss a little bit would be like how does a coach or how do we as coaches begin to like maybe tune our senses or trust our instincts when it comes to picking up these kind of situations. Whether is it like, is the client in a certain state or am I in a certain state? Is it really just depending on what the client says or like their facial expression? Like are there more ways that we can pick up information about what kind of regulation is needed in a session?
Like what is it that the client needs?
Yeah. So for instance, if let's say sometimes I notice a client keeps making a certain kind of body movement, right? I think I recall this example came from you. Some clients spinning in a chair, like a spinning in a chair thing, right?
Yes,
so it's nothing to do with what they were saying, but yet the topic they were talking about and the bodily behavior gave you kind of like a clue.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Would you like to share that story and then how that helped you move the client forward actually?
Okay, like moving a client from a stuck position.
Yeah.
So the client started out sharing in a way that after a while the questions, the responses started to cycle.
Okay. So we literally go in a circle.
Right? And then as I was like looking at, okay, well, this is going nowhere. So automatically it's about, stepping back and looking at the big picture, what's really happening.
Yeah.
And as I did that, I see this client who's sitting in front of me, sitting on a swivel chair, and then the chair is also going in circles. And I was like, that's very interesting. Like there are two processes happening at the same time. One is cognitive and one is movement. Right? And just instead of focusing on the cognitive, which already wasn't working out, asking her about, as you are talking to me, I noticed that you are going in circles on your swivel chair. What's happening? And that started to draw some emotion from the person, and she started to go into like how she's feeling stuck and going in circles. And from there, we made headway into finding a coaching objective and progressing into resolving it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, didn't do the cognitive part. I mean, didn't do the cognitive part, but noticed it as a pattern, and then also noticed the physicality.
Yes.
And when addressed, something emotional came out.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Correct.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I feel like every coaching scenario is different.
Yeah.
And it's down to how you see you can flow with that. And that's why experimentation is so important.
I think that also links us a bit to one of the points here where like attunement is actually pretty crucial and sometimes can be more powerful than so-called your ability to see the insight or to see the pattern, so to speak. Right? In this case, you just kind of like, you were tuning in, you step out a little bit, and you saw an interesting thing that was happening and decided to just ask about it and see where it went.
Yes. I mean, I think when you say that, to me, the most classic example is maybe a client sharing something and then the emotions are bubbling inside, but it's not coming out.
Correct.
But as a coach, when you tune in, you're feeling so much of those emotions.
Yes.
That it gives you that, what
the
you need
to
urge to actually ask about it and let it surface. So that's one way.
Correct. I think attunement here then is also kind of, and if you have been holding yourself back on this, right, it's actually you taking that first step to trust your sensing abilities and your tuning abilities and formulating what you are sensing into a response or a question. Granted, at the beginning, you might not always get it right, but then because we are whole people, even as coaches, we have these inbuilt sensitivities. And I would think that if you are aiming to improve or advance your coaching to like a higher level, this is kind of where you begin to start. For those of you out there, some of you might already be receiving feedback from friends and family or just people around you, like how they'll say things like, "Oh my God, how is it you always seem to know what to say?" Or "How come you always know what I'm feeling? You're always so accurate." Like, I think these are some of the individuals who are getting real life feedback from the world around them, that actually they do have some level of sensitivity in the ability to tune into things, and then find expression there.
But how does one develop sensitivity?
I think the first step is actually a desire and a willingness to want to develop it. And then the next one is, do you actually take the time to just listen to what's happening within yourself? I never fully buy it when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm not a very sensitive person," or like, "Oh, I'm a bit of a goblok. I'm a bit blocked. I don't really sense things."
But it's also the same for people who say they're sensitive people, that they're actually not as sensitive as they think they are.
Yeah, so maybe I think then the point is to question the statements that you're making about yourself and actually test it. If let's say you think that you're very sensitive, but you haven't really been getting that feedback from the world around you, then that is
maybe that's your own
a check to make, right?
Yeah.
And then and for the people who are so attached to the narrative that they're not sensitive, like, you don't actually know that. Maybe you are, just that you're not giving yourself the chance to entertain those feelings or thoughts or those things that you sense that come up as you interact with the people around you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to becoming a regulating force and taking a more active role in the coaching conversation as a coach, you do need to hone this facet of yourself. The first half was, how do you regulate yourself? How are you self-aware? Then once you have that as a baseline, how then do you sense what's happening across the table from you, and then being able to utilize that in a powerful way or forwarding way for your client?
Right. Wow, there's a lot to work on as
Always,
a coach.
A lot.
Especially since this is such an advanced topic.
It's a fairly advanced topic. Yeah.
So then there's also this thing around how your body is a tuning fork. It's an instrument in which you can tune into what's really happening.
Yes, correct.
Right. And given that your body tends to know what your mind
might not
know yet,
yeah,
how do we then best use the body to tune in and get what we need from the client? How do we develop the body's knowing?
I think the easiest way, or one of the ways that I feel that most people would already have access to, is just the reactions that your body has in different scenarios that you're in. Right? So simple examples I can think of would be, let's say you walk into an eerie alley, right? And you're alone and it's dark and you feel a bit of like your hair stand and it feels creepy. That is a very classic example of a body symptom, right? So when you use that as an example, you want to begin to tune into all the different types of body symptoms that come up as you go through life.
Right.
When do you feel maybe anxious before going on stage to receive an award? Or maybe before a big presentation, and you have worked so hard on the deck and you are 5 minutes away from presenting to the board of directors. What are the reactions that happens in your body? Do you know? Do you begin to perspire? Like prickly pins and needles in your scalp? Or is it like a knot in your stomach? Right? So this is proof that our body does exhibit symptoms and can react to different things. So as you familiarize yourself with your own body symptoms, that will actually give you kind of like a library of vocabulary to begin to interact with your clients with, right? And you can invite them to share about if anything occurring in their body, as they relate to you a coaching topic or a coaching issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed.
Yeah. Okay, client safety. Hallmark of client safety. How does a client know that they are safe? So usually they relax.
Yeah.
Because of who you are, not what you say. So how do clients know that they are safe with their coaches?
how do clients know? I think sometimes clients, they come in with an assumption that they are already safe. But then when the conversation starts to go awry or go off track, I would say actually the coach would tend to observe the drop in safety earlier than the client. Yeah, because sometimes you will notice like clients maybe sharing less, or they begin to pull away, or their body language shifts, they like kind of turn away from the coach somehow. These are some of the signs that are beginning to that I would be curious about, right? And sometimes I would check in, like, how are you feeling? You know, I'm noticing maybe you feel a bit, you're squirming in your chair, or you're a bit fidgety. You know, what's happening there, right? So these are things like you said, right? The body tends to know before the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to client safety and comfort, I think the body is quite a clear indicator, and it's up to the coach to observe it and address it or have a conversation.
Yeah. True.
I think the other way that we can also approach client safety would be establishing some simple rules of engagement around the topic of safety, which would mean that it can be something as simple as agreeing that whenever a client might feel uncomfortable during a session, they have the permission to kind of communicate that and speak openly and address it with the coach.
Right.
Yeah, so that can also be one way where, in a sense, the coach can do a bit less work because you have given some agency to the client
To speak up when they're not feeling comfortable.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, regulation requires containment, the ability to stay whatever that happens.
Correct.
Right. So how do we stay present when nothing is resolving?
What do you mean?
Like, you want to contain and resolve stuff, right? But then what if you're caught in a situation where things aren't really moving? How do you break out of that?
I think in that situation when maybe things are very chaotic and there's a lot of symptoms and information, and whether it's from the client or yourself in the space, as the coach who is responsible for the process and the flow of the conversation, you kind of, your first step is that you have to be aware that things are chaotic and things are all over the place. And you have to then know that when that's happening, put down some parameters or some guardrails to begin to contain the situation a little bit. Yeah. There is no... I was going to say, it's not a right or wrong thing. It's more of like, it is a responsibility and like professional requirement thing, right? And you should feel empowered to do that with your client. And then the next step will be then the manner in which you do it. Do you do that in a way that still upholds some level of safety, but yet at the same time bringing in structure and keeping the client connected to you in that coach-client relationship, so that they are also committed to their growth and their transformation,
right?
And they are also aware of the chaos that's happening, and they understand why you are putting in the structures to regulate. Yeah. So I think when that happens, it's a lot of heavy lifting on the coach's part. But then if you are in this industry and you're working towards that level of mastery, then that's the skill you need, man. Yeah. Because it's not really on the client to suddenly self-regulate and suddenly become so amazing and they can do all that you are supposed to actually do.
Yeah. That's why coaches can charge more, right?
Yes, correct.
Because of all the stuff that we are doing in the background that is seemingly unseen, but you know, that's the degree of work that happens.
Yeah. Because coaching at a high level is not about copy and pasting a template set of questions or like a flow, but it's really, are you able to handle the dynamic nature of a human being?
Yep.
Yeah, in all their complexities and their dramas and whatnot.
Yep. So I guess then one of the wrap-up questions that we can maybe talk about is what happens when a coach rushes closure to relieve tension?
Rushes closure to release tension.
Like they're feeling like, you know, this conversation I'm having with the client is uncomfortable, and you know, I think we should end the session quickly so that I don't have to deal with the client anymore.
That is actually a very big boo-boo, or it's a big mistake if a coach does that. Because it will mean that the closure, or so-called the conclusion, is very surface level, and both yourself and the client actually return home, leave the session and return home with unresolved expressions, and we don't know what kind of consequences that might create. Whether is it maybe like a minus in relationship points, where the client might have a judgment of the coach, or the coach might have a judgment of the client, or worse still, some form of like impact on the body or impact on the body well-being. Like if you have a feeling that is not safe, then you have to hold this this discomfort. That definitely not a healthy feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what if the client has to rush off, and therefore you have to close, even though it's not in a good place yet?
For me, I will ask for a follow-up. Right? I will explain my stance and say that I just want to acknowledge that this has not really landed in a smooth manner at this point, and there's still some outstanding things that I'm sensing as a coach.
Yep.
And can we fix a time, maybe after you're done with your meeting that you're rushing off to, just to have a few minutes to close off properly. Yeah, I think professionally that's the minimum a coach needs to do. Yeah, and not kind of like leave it hanging until the next session.
So as an end off for this topic, right? How would you summarize what this whole thing around regulation is?
So regulation, definitely there are two aspects, right? The first aspect is the self-regulation, and I like the analogy of the stillness as kind of like your base level foundation first, because that's the one that when disrupted, you will know where the disruption is and you can begin to move questions there. And then the second part would be the active or the taking agency role as the coach, where you actively work with the client to talk through their symptoms, talk through their topics, or talk through the things that you are sensing as the coach. Yeah, so these are the two halves. But definitely in terms of developing yourself as a coach, that in this case there is a little bit of like a sequence, right? You kind of want to make sure you have a baseline stillness ability first for your own self-regulation before you begin to experiment and work with clients on their types of body symptoms or body reactions to topics that they bring up. Yeah.
Yep. So with that, I hope this conversation gives you insight into how to really bring out that presence. How do you regulate?
Yeah, and how to kind of be more courageous and jump into situations where you see the opportunity for yourself to practice and to tune up this skill. Yeah, because it's definitely one of those skills where it can be challenging to teach. That's why not a lot of schools do it. But if you can master this, then that really sets you apart from a regular coach. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. See you in the next episode.